Okay, welcome everyone. Stock market technical analysis. Leave me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. And let's get right into the charts. Okay, so we're going to start off with triple Qs. That's tech. We have a short-term breakout. To me, I think we're setting up to go to the top of the range, right around 324.50, possibly gap fill. And when I say gap fill, you'll notice back here, back in February, we gapped down and we haven't filled that gap since. So we've been trading lower, and it looks to me like we're going to run up and probably fill that gap. If we get to 324 and break out to the upside, that gap fill is likely going to prove to be an area where the sellers will step in. All right, so those are really the two things I'm looking at. Is 324. It's about 324.50. You can see here. We've got a reaction here, reaction, that's kind of a reaction. So we have several reactions at the top of that area. And on the short term, I did mark out this downtrend line that we were making over the last couple weeks, basically, or days. And we broke today to the upside. You can see there's a breakout on the hourly out of that short-term downtrend. So to me, at this moment, I think that sets us up for a move up to 324.50. All right, that's going to be the area where you're going to find some resistance. And if we break out of that, then I mean, of course, that will be bullish because you'll be breaking out of a consolidation range that we've been struggling with for quite some time. But we do have this gap up here to fill. So if we break out, we'll watch for a gap fill up at the 330 area and look for a reaction up there. I suspect that's where the short sellers will be sitting, and that's what I'll be watching for, is how we behave if we get up and fill that gap. I suspect, that's the area I'm likely going to want to jump in and take a shot short on this thing. As of right now, I'm pretty much just flat on this thing. I had a very small short position on the Qs, just looking for a potential breakdown below this level, 311. That's my support zone. You can see it right down there. I just covered that this morning. So I'm not really short any indices right now, as I'm looking for better entries, better areas. It could be, and again, I've talked about the other day in the video when we undercut this 311 right here and then recovered it. We also put in on the hourly chart this bullish divergence right here. So this was a divergent low, and I said one way to trade this is you could be long with obviously a stop kind of, I'd set my stop right below here around 307.35. So I'd put my stop right there. But I said you could be long for a trade, up to gap fill or the top of the range. Those are two areas that you could target. And so far, that's working out. So moving on to the SPY. The SPY is just about to make a new marginal all-time high. It's so close now, I think it's likely going to do that. If it makes a new high, and it just has to really pop above these areas right here, about 398, we'll call it. If it does that, and it does it soon, then on the daily chart, you'll see it's just going to be another divergent high. So you see the negative divergence. See how the momentum, it just can't make new highs. It just keeps kind of going lower and lower, even though price is making slightly new highs in price. That's negative divergence. So we've got negative divergence on the daily chart, which is significant. That should play out for a pretty sizable trend correction. Then we haven't really seen that correction yet. We haven't seen that trend reversal. So this negative divergence tells me that that reversal's likely coming soon. I don't know when, of course, but we look for signs of it. And if we run up and make a new high, that's going to be a divergent high, which will likely be an area of failure. That's like, divergent highs fail. They have a high probability of failing. So I'll be watching that for a run up, hit this, probably about 400, and we'll likely get rejected up around there. That's what I'm thinking. Small caps are doing, they're kind of trading with what the Qs are doing. They're growth, Qs is growth, small caps is growth. And, we have negative divergence right up here on the daily chart. So we've started to see that correction. But again, Qs is kind of hanging in there. So small caps probably isn't going to sell off until the Q starts to sell off. So we'll just watch those areas. If I look at the hourly here, you can see we have a little bit of resistance on the short-term chart. And again, this is just very short-term, but it's right there at about 220. We'll call it 220.40, 220.50, right in there. A break to the upside of that, and you've got a gap right up here. So you can see there's a little gap there. So we'll probably run right up to that gap, and that's going to be 225.10. And obviously we could run up and do a back test. We could make another marginal high as well. If you look at the daily, we could run up and make a new marginal high up here. It's pretty far away, so I'm not sure that we'll actually get that far. But this gap fill about 225 is a likely target for the upside. And then we'll look for signs of that starting to reverse. And we'll see what the Qs looks like at that moment in time, and really what the general markets look like. Going back to the hourly on this IWM, if we can't break above here, this 220.40, then I would look for, again, I'm looking for more downside on the IWM down to this trend line down here, which is right now it's sitting down here at about 204, 205. That trend line's coming off the March 2020 lows, and you can see we had a reaction here, reaction there. There's your lows, and there's the trend line. We haven't hit that trend line yet, so I'm thinking that we come down and hit that trend line. But that doesn't mean we can't go a little bit higher, gap fill, and then roll over. So we'll just watch those levels. On the downside, I would look for, obviously if you break below this recent low right here, and then you have this low right here, but I think if we start to break below this one, which is about, we'll just say it's roughly 214, we start to get an hourly close down there at below 214, then to me, that says we're likely going down to that 204 area. Okay, I want to talk about gold and the gold miners, because these are the ones that I think are really setting up for the next, swing trade to the upside. I am bullish these gold miners down here at these prices, and I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at and why I see that we're likely going to reverse this downtrend. So again, the bigger picture, if you look at gold, going back all the way to 2015, basically, that was the low in gold, and it's in a bull market. You're making higher lows and higher highs, so that larger trend and multi-year trend is not broken. That's still intact. And also, if you look at the daily, we've got what looks to be kind of a cup and handle formation where, this, I marked it out. This is a big rounding bottom. Basically, this area is just a big consolidation pattern where there's accumulation happening. People were buying over the years in this pattern, and they were no longer really selling. And then we broke out to the upside, and we've now we've had a pretty good correction on this bull trend. And which has kind of made a handle. So right now this is a cup and handle formation. Basically what it does is you form the handle and then you start to break to the upside and make the next substantial leg higher. And so as I zoom in, that's the bigger picture on gold. It's still bullish longer term. And that's why I remain, constructive on gold and the gold miners. And it's just all about finding your entry. And that's what we're going to try to do now. So zooming in on gold, you can see here, we have bullish divergence now on gold. Doesn't mean it has to remain, but it's there as of right now. So you can see here that the RSI, as I zoom in, let me zoom that in. See how we're making a higher low right here than this previous low in the RSI, and yet the price made it's kind of an equal price. It's basically right there. The last couple of days we made an equal low in price. So bullish divergence is now intact, and you can see on the RSI also it's starting to point up, it's starting to turn up. So we have confirmed divergence. It doesn't mean that we can't sell off and burn through that divergence, but it is there right now. So now that is intact, we look for that to remain. If they burn through it, then that's pretty bearish, and there's probably a lot more downside. But if it remains intact, then what I would see is probably we might just continue to kind of grind a little bit lower, but keep that bullish divergence intact. And that's going to start to signal that we're looking for a trend reversal to come. So I'm starting to see bullish signs show up on the technicals for gold. Let's look at the miners here. Okay, so some of these miners that I've been watching, I just got a big list of them. There's obviously more, but these are just some of the ones that I watched to give me a measurement of where the miners are heading. You can see Newmont Mining. So Newmont Mining looks like it's bull flagging, and this is just a short-term thing. But again, you roll out, it's in a bull trend since 2016. It's making higher lows and higher highs. But going into the shorter term time frame, look, we have a leg up, we're kind of flagging out. To me, this projects another leg higher up to resistance, which is about 72. All right, so I think we're heading up to the top of that range. That's what it looks like as of right now. We have bullish divergence right here. So you see how the momentum made kind of equal lows in the momentum indicators, and yet it was done on slightly lower price right there. That's bullish divergence. So it's, you know, telling me we're going to reverse trend. Here's one, BTG, and you can see here if we move this circle down right down to there, that's a divergent low right there. See the RSI? Let me zoom that in. See how we're making a higher low, and the RSI is starting to turn up. That's bullish divergence. So this low price here was a divergent low. Telling me we're likely going to get a trend reversal. If you wanted to wait, you could probably draw a trend line out like that on the daily. And, you know, obviously you could wait for a breakout of that downtrend to signal a trend. You know, we now have a trend reversal. But the divergence is telling me we're going to get that trend reversal relatively soon. So bullish divergence there in BTG is now, you know, and you can see the PPO, it's clearly there. Sand. So sand broke out, and it's just been back testing that trend line, that resistance line. This was your resistance right there. There's your breakout and your back test, and we're just back testing, and that's not been negated. So this, you know, it's objective to go long on sand in this area down near this trend line of, you know, about 673, or, you know, it's pretty close right now, but that's an objective area to go long. Doesn't mean it's going to work out, but it's objective. Here's IM Gold, IAG. All right, so IM Gold, you can see here, we made a, right there, we made a slightly lower low, just barely a lower low, or an equal low, I could say. And it was on higher momentum. See the bullish divergence showing up? See the RSI, how it's starting to turn up? Let me point that out right there. See how it's turning up right here? And it's made a higher low. So you've got bullish divergence now on the daily chart on this one, IM Gold. So that tells me we're likely going to get a trend reversal. And here's a short-term downtrend right there. You could, you know, you could wait for a breakout of that, and you know, or, you know, it's objective to step in this area down here at 287 this morning. So again, I just see bullish signs on that one. Here's HMY. I've talked about this one. This one looks like it's going to break out. It doesn't mean it's going to, but it definitely looks like it's going to. It's probably going to come in the form of a gap up. But you got this big downtrend right here, and we put in bullish divergence right there on, let me see if I can get my tool. This low price action right there was bullish divergence, which means you made a slightly lower low in price, and yet the momentum was kind of an equal low right there. And the PPO, you can see, was a higher low. Zoom in the PPO. See how that's uptrending right there? And yet price was going down. So bullish divergence telling me that a trend reversal is likely. We have a downtrend line right here that you can watch. If you want to wait for the breakout, that's obviously the most conservative area. I stepped in on this one already. I was actually buying this down in this buy zone. I figured they were going to hold support here. So I've been in this one for a while, and obviously I'm waiting for that breakout. So break of that trend line will signal, you know, that the trend has reversed. All right. So I like that one. I think we're going up on that one. Here's wheat and precious metals, WPM. I've kind of pointed this one out, and look, we have bullish divergence. This low price, this was a slightly lower price area than the former lows. All right, there's a low, and a new lower low. But that lower low was made on higher momentum. So you can see the bullish divergence, how it's moving, trending up. It's how the RSI and the PPO are both trending up on this daily chart, signaling that's a divergent low, and it's likely going to, you know, move higher from there, and it has. So what do? We move higher, come back in, test support, which is about 37.25. That's lots of reactions around that level. So it's really bullish to see that we undercut it and then recovered it. And we've undercut it, recovered it, come back in, testing it, and it's still holding and moving higher off of that level. It hasn't impulsively moved higher, but it's building a good solid foundation of support. And if we were going to fail, we probably would have failed right here, right? You break down, maybe you bounce, you get rejected, and then roll over. But that didn't happen. We recovered. So ultimately, this is a pretty bullish chart. We have a downtrend way up here, and I think we're running up. We're going to run up to that downtrend. Eventually going to break out, but I like this one to the upside. Looks good. Here's Anglo Gold Ashanti. Again, these new lows, this was a divergent low. How it was, see the momentum, how it was higher momentum in the PPO. Let me zoom in right here. See how it's trending up? And yet it was trending up on slightly lower prices. That's bullish divergence. And again, we just made a new marginal, kind of an equal low right there, and it was also on higher momentum. So clear bullish divergence is intact. We have a downtrend line right here, and this is a very bullish chart. So I'm looking for, I would expect we're going to break higher on this one. So looks good there. This is Yamana Gold. This one does not have bullish divergence on the PPO, all right? It does have it on the RSI. So this was a divergent low on the RSI, but not on the PPO. Not as good a chart as some of these others, but still, moderately bullish. Let's look at this one, Goldfield. Divergent low, I have it circled right there. Clear bullish divergence right there on the RSI and the PPO. And that divergent low has held so far, and we're kind of trending higher. So I like that one. This one's not my favorite just because we also have this trend line right here that we've actually broke, and it's been trading below. But it hasn't marginally sold off, so we could be running up for a back test or something like that. Here's GDXJ, just a ETF of the junior miners, and I think it's a lot of mid-level miners, but whatever. And you can see here, this new low that we just recently made was just a continuation of the bullish divergence. So we made a new lower low in price, and yet the momentum, if I zoom it in, you can see is clearly still uptrending. Here's the RSI. You can clearly see that it's uptrending. So that's bullish divergence, telling me that we're likely going to reverse trend in this area, and the momentum is starting to pick up to the upside. There's buyers here is what that's basically showing. We're starting to increase momentum. So I think this is, again, this just looks bullish to me. Let's look at the dollar. Yeah, we don't have any negative divergence in the dollar, so I'm not going to cover that right now. Here's Barrick Gold. Clear bullish divergence showed up right there. This I have it circled. See that lower low in price? That was on higher momentum. Here the PPO had an equal low, so that's still bullish divergence because it was on a lower low in price. And on the RSI, if I zoom in, you can see it was uptrending just slightly right there. So bullish divergence, and we rallied. We broke this downtrend line, this short-term downtrend line on the daily, and we broke to the upside, and all we've been doing ever since is basically backtesting. They chop it around and make it, it gets whippy around the trend line because that's the area where you're going to have bulls trying to short it, bears trying to short it and bulls buying it. And it's just an area, it's a reaction level, so you get whippy in the area. But you can see the price action today, they're buying it up 2.5%. And it is, in general, it's a bullish chart. So I think we're going to break higher and start to trend higher on this thing. So I'm definitely long on this one. Royal Gold here, you can see clear bullish divergence. See the RSI and the PPO. Here's the RSI and there's the PPO. Trending up. Let me zoom in just to kind of show that. See how we're trending up. And here's the PPO. Trending up. And but in price, we've been making slightly new lower lows. So that's bullish divergence. You have a downtrend line that's right about here. And you can see that as I zoom in, we've been just kind of chopping around. Here they made it look like it was going to fake out, but then they broke it back up again. So that's bullish, in general. Bullish. It's a bullish chart. I think it's likely we're going to go higher on this guy. AEM, Agnico Eagle. Level of support was really right here, about 57.89. And yesterday they broke it back down, but today they've snapped it right back up and recovered it. So false breakdown is what that looks like to me. And you also have bullish divergence. See that? I have it circled. These lower prices here were on higher or equal momentum. See the PPO slightly lower, but close enough where we could say it's basically equal. And then the RSI is slightly trending upward. So we're going to just say that's an equal low on both those, and it was on a much lower price right there because the former low was right here. Here's your momentum. It was back here, and then you made a new lower in price, but equal momentum, bullish divergence. All right, and we also had a whipsaw false breakdown, and we've recovered it so far. We'll see how the day closes, but as of right now, it's recovered it. So I like this one. I think we're running up. We're going to run up to this trend line as we're likely get a reaction up there. Franco, Nevada, look at that. You've got this downtrend line right here. You have a bullish falling wedge, basically, is what this whole pattern is. And we broke to the downside. That's usually an area where, when you have a bullish pattern, you break to the downside, it's usually a false breakdown, and then you make the move that this bullish pattern shows, and that's what it's done. So you broke down, made a new lower low right here. When you made that new lower low in the PPO did not have bullish divergence on the daily, but the RSI did. So kind of a split signal there. You can see here how we're trending up on the RSI. And then we broke to the upside of the pattern, and we've been above resistance ever since, kind of just back testing. And, looks like we're starting to get some lift off, to trend up. I think this looks bullish. In general, all these gold miners look pretty bullish. And so, I can make a bullish case for a lot of these. So I am long on a lot of these gold miners. I've been building positions on these, and I'm looking for kind of the next trend higher. So, yep, that's what I got. So I'm going to let this get this one out there. Thanks, guys. Catch you on the next one.